Hey everyone, welcome to this video. My name is Dylan. I'm glad you can be here. I'll be reading through something I wrote called The Reality of Ideals, or The Importance of Ideals, and I'll be peppering some commentary throughout, and the following guys will come up through the reading at some point, even if only for a moment. The Apostle Paul, Friedrich Nietzsche, Marcus Aurelius, and the wonderful, always wonderful, G.K. Chesterton. And they'll pop up throughout the reading here and there. And I say reading because I'm going to read what I wrote, but it's also kind of a relaxed discussion. So settle in, grab a cup of coffee, get yourself comfortable. I don't think it's going to be a very long video, but I don't really know how long it is because I haven't done one of these before. So we just moved. This is our new place, which makes it a lot easier for me to record videos like this one. A lot of reasons. The lighting is much better, the audio is much better, it's much more quiet. But we still have a lot of art to put up on the walls, and we still have a lot to do. But for now, I'm not complaining. It's a wonderful place. And so, the reality of ideals. This is not something like my usual videos where I'm reading something someone else wrote and mixing it to music. This is just some of my own thoughts, and it's really not a dogmatic statement or anything like that. It's really just me exploring some ideas, which is what I like to do on the channel. If you're a regular here, you'll know that. And we begin with the following. The Reality of Ideals by Dylan Hoos. G.K. Chesterton begins chapter 4 of Orthodoxy by defending ideals. He points out that as a young boy, he was criticized by older men for taking abstract ideals seriously, since they were like, quote, castles in the air. In other words, ideals aren't real, and one should rather be engaged in the practical politics of life. But Chesterton, in his classic style, flips the situation around and points out that as he got older, he held on to his ideals and instead lost his childlike faith in practical politics. No, he writes, the vision is always solid and reliable. The vision is always a fact. It is reality that is often a fraud. As much as I ever did, more than I ever did, I believe in liberalism. But there was a rosy time of innocence when I believed in liberals. Gotta love Chesterton. And be sure to notice how he contrasts the ideal of liberalism, which is immaterial, with the very much material reality of humans who try to attain to liberalism. I remember seeing a comment on the web one day where someone pointed out that Christianity is not to be trusted since many Christians are bad people. Now, I almost never get into internet debates. I say almost because this time I did respond. Yes, many Christians can behave terribly, and they fall short of the ideal which they are meant to emulate. But, and here's the key question, but to what degree does my inability to attain the ideal reflect the quality of the ideal itself? He responded, I'm not really familiar with the Christian ideals, but it doesn't matter, since any ideal Christianity holds is man-made anyway. Now, I didn't respond after that, so the conversation didn't go further, but I thought about what he'd said, and it occurred to me that even if an ideal is man-made, that still doesn't change the fact that falling short of that ideal does not reflect the quality or usefulness of the ideal itself. As Chesterton brilliantly said, the Christian ideal has not been tried and found wanting. It has been found difficult and left untried. Let's make this more concrete. Supposing we say that honesty is an ideal which should be present within the construction of all your communication. Everything you say, and don't say, should keep the ideal of honesty in mind. Now, if I am dishonest and don't adhere to the ideal, that in no way changes the fact that the honest man is going to reap the positive benefits of striving towards the ideal of honesty. The ideal floats above us like the sky. The world below changes. People come and go. Civilizations come and go. But the ideal hangs up there in the air looking down at us, itself unchanging and eternal. The ideal of the family will never disappear, but civilizations who do not participate in it eventually will. Speaking poetically, of course. And just in case you want to see what he looks like, if you're not familiar with Chesterton, that is the wonderful gentleman. Okay, then we have something from Paul, the Apostle Paul. I love how he's pointing up in this depiction. And, this idea, it's not like the painting of Plato is also pointing up, right? The ideals, the perfect reality. So, the next paragraph says, in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18, the Apostle Paul writes, "So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." And so the ideal is always here, and we can, so to speak, tap into it by adjusting our actions to what the ideal demands. In Beyond Good and Evil, Friedrich Nietzsche, and there's a pic for you. In Beyond Good and Evil, Friedrich Nietzsche writes, "What? A great man? I always see merely the play actor of his own ideal. Merely the play actor of his own ideal." In a funny way, if you said that to a Christian, they would likely say, "Indeed, I am not a great man. I do all things through Christ. I am merely a play actor. Except, unlike the stage actor, I do not read a script, but rather a scripture." As I write this, I see a tree swaying in my garden. It sways because of the wind. I do not see the wind, but I see the effects of it, and so surmise the wind to be there. In the same way, we might not see the ideal itself, but we do see the effects of the ideal. We see the change in people as they change what they consider to be important. This is true for the man who changes his life for the better by taking himself and life more sincerely, and as a consequence more seriously. But this is also true for the man who does the exact opposite and sees life as neither sincere nor serious. As the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius put it, I've lost my place. As the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius put it, "The soul is dyed by the color of its thoughts." What a beautiful line, eh? The soul is dyed by the color of its thoughts. To the detective assisting in a murder trial, the body often provides many clues. If you want to know a man's ideals, begin by looking at his body, at his behavior. The tree sways with the wind. Our body sways with inputs. The difference between us and the tree is we have the will to decide which direction we will allow the breeze to bend us towards. Okay, so those are just some thoughts. Like I said, I'm not stating this dogmatically. I'm really stating them to start a discussion. Because I've definitely noticed in my own life that there is this tendency to want an ideal. There is a tendency to want something that I'm striving towards. And if I say, well, I'm not going to have an ideal, which I did in my early 20s, things usually don't work out very well. You want something to direct yourself towards. And for me, whatever you decide that something is going to be is obviously going to influence the way you live your life to get there. And I mean, what is more real than your actions, right? And that sort of takes us back to Nietzsche's line that you're a play actor in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are. And fellow human being on the opposite end of the screen, I appreciate your time. This is Existential Delight. If you're new here, I make videos about a lot of different things. It's difficult to tell you one thing. Every week I've got something different I want to try. But it usually relates to philosophy. It usually relates to even theology. I'm basically trying to be the opposite of an existential crisis. I'm so tired of nihilistic, edgy teens talking about how life is nothing but an existential crisis. Life is, in many ways, a delight. And we're very fortunate to be here, I believe. And I think the correct attitude is probably some form of gratitude. So, I don't presume to know anything better than the next guy, but these are just some of my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think of ideals? Do you think having an ideal is important? And if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. And also, if you haven't already, click that little bell next to the subscribe button so that YouTube will send you a message when I upload something. It's not enough anymore just to subscribe. If you want to get notified, just click that little bell icon. And if you like this video and you'd like to hear more thoughts like this, let me know. This is something new I'm trying. There's a Numa mix coming out this Friday of G.K. Chesterton, actually. And then next week, if you're watching this, I'm going to just let you know now. Next week will be Edgar Allan Poe, a sort of poetry mix. I'm excited for that one. It's already done, but I think I might release it a little bit earlier to my Patreons. If you are a Patreon, you'll be getting extra bonuses, so consider subscribing there and supporting the channel. And yeah, before I go on and on, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Cheers.